Join me in welcoming Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi and Georgia Attorney General Sam Olens.
As Attorneys General, we have been on the front line defending the Constitution and the American people from a president driven to exercise government power over our freedoms, our rights, and our lives. We know that the Constitution limits federal power, but President Obama clearly believes those limits just get in his way. So he ignores them time and again. He promises to rescue our economy and environment by investing in green jobs, but instead funnels your tax dollars into campaign donors' pockets. He promised to have the most transparent administration in history, but now refuses to come clean with Congress and the American people about fast and furious.
He sure does. He talks about giving us more control over health care decisions, but instead grants that power to government bureaucrats. He claims that government is responsible for private sector success, but the only thing he is building is bigger government. And Obamacare is Exhibit A.
It distorts our Constitution and endangers our fragile economy. We did everything in our power to stop it, taking the fight all the way to the United States Supreme Court. We prevailed on our two main arguments.
The court agreed that the Commerce Clause of the Constitution does not allow the federal government to purchase a product, to force you to purchase something that you do not want. The court agreed that the Constitution does not allow the federal government to force states to adopt a budget-busting expansion of Medicaid.
Then came the shocker. The Supreme Court upheld the individual insurance mandate by calling it something the president swore it never was, a tax. At every stage of the process, President Obama and congressional Democrats promised us that the mandate was not a tax, because they knew Americans were hurting, and the last thing we needed was another tax, because they knew if the American public were told that Obamacare was just a massive tax hike, they wouldn't have a prayer of passing it.
That's right. Instead, President Obama and the Democrats called it a mandate. Then they turned around and without a shred of shame asked the court to call the mandate a tax. Yet the president can't bring himself to acknowledge publicly that the only reason this unaffordable CARE Act still stands is because it is a tax. This is what happens when a president has such total disregard for our individual liberty that he knowingly and purposely imposes unwarranted restrictions against the will of the people. This is not why our founding fathers risked their lives and their fortunes when they created a nation. This is not why young American men and women today risk their lives in defense of freedom. So tonight, we ask you, do you want skyrocketing health insurance premiums?
Do you want enormous new financial burdens on young people who already shoulder our nation's crushing debt?
Do you want the government to force individuals and religious institutions to violate the tenets of their faith?
Do you want over $1 trillion in new tax increases?
Do you want a job-destroying insurance mandate that strangles our businesses?
Do you want a federal government that tells you what to do, what to think, or what to buy when it comes to your health care?
Do you want the federal government to steal hundreds of billions of dollars from Medicare to hide the true cost of Obamacare?
Do you want more of this for 4 more years? The health care lawsuit has reminded all of us that the Constitution limits the power of government. It has reminded us of the precious relationship between federalism and individual liberty. And though we fundamentally disagree with his decision, Chief Justice Roberts did observe that it is not the Supreme Court's job to protect the people from the consequences of their political choices.
That's right. It is our job to make a new choice. It is time to stand up and say in a loud, clear voice, enough. It is time to repeal Obamacare. It is time to stop those who ignore the Constitution when it's expedient. It is time to remember that our rights are not a gift from government, but from God, and that by His grace, we will defend them. It is time for Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan. Thank you. Have a great night.